Hello. The video that you're about to watch was supposed to be all saved up for the end of February, but somebody lanky and rather gobby went and spoiled it by walking around my car doing a live stream. So I thought I may as well post what I have so far. It's not really fair to blame Boaty for it all, but I am going to. Hello, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Mustard and I like elderflower, but I also like beetroot and this car. The chances are you know this car is called Nigel. You won't know it's called Nigel if you are new to the channel, which hopefully you will be. That means I'd like it if suddenly there was a great influx of interest in my YouTube channel. Just in case you are new to the channel and you'd like to know what's going on here, this playlist will tell you everything. Just go back to the beginning. Look at the start of the story of Nigel. In this video, you're going to see me do something that you've seen me do before, if you've seen me do it before. And if not, then you won't do. But what I'm about to do is something very, very thorough. Today's date is the 2nd of February. And in front of me here is a green Rover 420 GSI called Toby Charles. This is my car number 2, so to speak, and this month I will be driving it, which means that Nigel in the lockup there can stay in the lockup till the end of the month whilst I properly detail the body. You're obviously watching this not on the 2nd of February, but on the 28th of February or later, and that's because it's taken me all month to do this particular job. I have other things to do, so I'm going to crack on and do a bit of this today, then do something else, and then come back and do a bit more tomorrow or the next day. First of all, this car will need a wash. Not because it's particularly dirty, because it isn't, but because if I'm going to do anything at all in the paintwork, I need it to be completely free of dirty things. Let's quickly go through what I'm going to do for this car so that it can be at its absolute best for Pride of Longbridge. Bonnet. Pretty good overall, but it does have a few micro scratches and a kind of strange stain just there. The front bumper has a few scratches, many of them and I'm not really prepared to do that. When I parked it in the corner over there, seemed like a great idea, but I didn't even realise that I'd caught it on the metal there, so that needs just a little bit of Wedgwood paint on there. It also has a few other little marks on here, and if I've got some paint then I will just touch it up. The boot lid, well, there are plans to just replace this one with another one. That's quite a lot of fiddly stuff to remove, to swap over, so I don't know whether that's going to happen yet. The rear lamps, these are the standard rear lamps, they will get in place with problems. Then we have the Sonic Blue door, which does have quite a nasty scratch just there. Now I would like to try and do something about that. So what I'm going to do is see if I can just mix up a couple of bits of paint to get a colour match and then just dab it in there. And then obviously buff over it. British Racing Green wing, that's a hair. Has a little rust bubble there. But if I start tackling that, then I'll have to respray the whole wing. And that's a pity because the wing's actually pretty good otherwise. But it won't do any harm to mop that one as well. And then we move over up the A-pillar onto the roof, where when this is clean you will see a few marks. Not many, but a few. And then we have a dent here. Now, not really any plans on removing that dent, because I don't mind a dent. It's just scratches I don't like. And finally, the boot spoiler, which has many a micro scratch on it, but it's been better since the last time I did some work on it. But besides respraying that, there's not much I can do with it. And that is the exterior of the car. Outside it's a bit drizzly and damp and not the kind of conditions suitable for doing paintwork. But I'm not outside, I'm inside, and I'm going to just quickly show you, now the car has dried off, what I'm going to do before the end of today. First of all, we have the boot spoiler, which I have attempted to buff these marks out and they won't do because they're just a little bit too deep. The rest of it should be okay. Now, there is a couple of chips here and there as well, which really need a bit of paint. So I'm going to spray a bit of lacquer on that. I'm going to buff the other bits, and I'm going to polish with the big buffer thing the roof. Can we see any marks on there? Can we see any marks? I can see loads. With the paint being quite good, it's a bit difficult to see them, but there are definitely quite a lot of marks. If this was a dark colour, they'd show up a lot more, of course, but it's, as far as I'm concerned, not good enough. I'm going to use the big powerful thingy for the big bits, and then the small cordless drill for the small bits. Looks pretty good, doesn't it? And I haven't even started on it yet. How good will it look when I've finished? The problem is that thing's so snatchy and powerful that a curvy bonnet like that, it's really not easy at all, because you're leaning over it and then all these different contours of the things just yanking it in every other direction. So it's not working quite as well as I was hoping. Okay, that's the bonnet. I've just put the stuff on there, you know, the other thing, the ceramic coating. So it's time to try out the water test. It's half of the roof gone over twice, and what I'm looking for here is to see a difference in shine between this side and that side, and I don't think you can see it. I'm not sure I can either. It's a bit difficult to tell because one side is covered in dust now anyway. I can see a slight difference. You know what I didn't do with the roof or the bonnet, which was to get the paper out, the fine papers, and start sanding away ever so slightly. And perhaps I should have done, because they are both still a bit scratchy in places. And at what point do you stop? This rather unsightly scratch on the driver's door there, it can be seen from quite a way off, you see. So what I'm about to attempt to do is use a bit of silver and a bit of blue and a bit of lacquer, mix it together to get a colour that's kind of right, and see if I can disguise it. Similar-ish. On the car though, it looks completely wrong, but with it dried out and rubbed back, it might be okay. There we go, I've fixed it by making it look almost exactly the same as it was before. Right, bored of that now. Let's do something else for a while. It's now the 5th of February. I might start the process of removing this boot lid so I can have the blue one. But just looking at this here, this is untouched for quite a while. It's got a very, very good shine to it before I've even started, hasn't it? That's because of the amount of times I've already done this and then tried to look after the paint afterwards. Oh, how about this? The boot spoiler is ready for its layer of ceramic. Again, it's not perfect, but it is much better than it was before. Tuesday, the 6th of February, and it's raining but I'm also waiting for Neil to come around who wants to work on Thread the Shed today. And this, I think it'd be a better idea just to stay inside and do something like this. I've shied away from the idea of replacing Nigel's gold boot lid for quite a while. For one reason, it's quite a lot of stuff to mess around with, and the other is that I did always quite like it being gold. But before I start, I am going to properly inspect this Tahiti blue boot to make sure there's no rust on it anywhere that would make me regret putting it on. Oh, it has been a bit left outside for a while, so it's quite grotty. What's he trying to say? We'll fall off that branch, do we now?
Yeah, go out.
Go out where?
I hear you're a Rastafarian.
Security talk faults causing YT resistance. Well, that's smoking. Ooh. Neil's not doing it all, he's just kind of taken over whilst I was making a cup of tea.
Are you drug smuggler?
They will watch it because Boaty is my biggest fan.
Okay, well now we can. Well, this is like
biggest fan called
like
Boaty.
Yourself now.
As you've never seen Nigel before, with his face off. It's not his face, it's more like the back of his head. Yeah. Hello.
Hello.
Taking out the headlining now, because it'd be easier to put the tailgate back on without it on. And now back to Nigel. The most awkward bit has been done, I would say, of fitting the blue tailgate, but it's not fitting properly just yet, so I need to make some adjustments on it. Now then, Nigel's boot is on, but it doesn't really fit properly and it won't close. Well, when I say it won't close, it won't actually latch. As we look at it around here, we've got the usual big gap, which looks about the same as it did do before, but around the other side, it's bigger, much bigger. That's the kind of gap that is intolerable. But how does that compare to the panel gaps in the other 25s of the yard? This one is a bit better, but not really great. This one looks a bit better than the previous one, but still a gap. And then the oldest one of all has quite easily the smallest panel gap of the lot. Also of the same age, 1999. Panel gap isn't brilliant, but it's certainly much better than the newer cars. And this one is unforgivably big. When I started this little month-long project off, I was genuinely thinking that I would wait all month before posting a video, but I think it would be far too long. And if I'm editing this now and it's already 15 minutes, then I might as well just post it, because you haven't seen the good bits of the car so far. But you have seen the bad bits, and here I am with a roll of carpet holding the boot in place, because with the gas struts on, it pushes the boot that way, which is pushing it further out of the way, thus making the lineup even more awkward because it's pushing it the wrong way. So now my tact is to hold the boot up like that so gravity can take its course, pushing the boot that way whilst I unnip and then re-nip and see whether that works. And yes, currently the inside of the car is a bit of a tip. That is the end of this particular Nigel day. And it wasn't really even supposed to be a Nigel day. It was supposed to be a Thread the Shed day. And that's why I've decided to not leave it till the end of the month before posting something. Because as you can see, the boot lid now fits. And the panel gap is better than it was before, which admittedly isn't that difficult. I don't honestly know how it could possibly have been that bad without having some sort of shunt. But next is fitting the rest of the bits of the tailgate and making it look good. Gosh, this is a rather spooky look with that house in the background like that.
Yeah.
As well as having all the bits bunged back on the tailgate, it's going to need a good clean. It's going to need a good clean, some clay barring, and then some rubbing back to make that paint all lovely and smooth before I even bother sticking anything else on it. And so the look that this car has will not be achieved until that boot has been finished again anyway. In its current state, it looks somewhat numb actually, with no plinth, no number plate, no badges, no rear wiper. It looks almost like the American version of the Rover 25.